Hey there you guys, what's up, how's it going? Welcome back, or welcome in general if it's your first time to the channel, or if it's your first time to one of these videos that we do every single Friday where I get some of the highlights of this week in video games, some of the things that I think was interesting and I think you might find interesting as well. So in this week's video we have a couple really interesting things that happened throughout this week. Obviously we had Gamescom. I'm not really going to be talking about Gamescom in this video just because so much happened at Gamescom that I think I might just do a separate video, but also not really a lot happened at Gamescom where also I feel like I might not just do anything at all. I'm still deciding on that. But besides that, we have things like a new voice for Mario as Charles Martinet steps down or steps up, steps somewhere away from Mario. We have the PlayStation Project Q finally getting a release date and a release price. And Xbox Series S is starting to change things up or stay the same. Again, a lot of information that happened. Let's get into all the stuff, all the news highlights that happened within this week in gaming. My name is Christian. Like this video. If you guys like this video, please consider subscribing, as that does help us out tons. And without wasting any more of your precious time, let's get into the first topic. And we always like to kick things off with Nintendo. Nintendo is normally within the good graces of their fan base, of their clientele, of their consumers. Majority of the time they're not really in the press for really negative things, or even if it's negative, it's not too negative. Well, things have changed up slightly with their newest information coming to light, that Nintendo Switch is finally allowing the developers to add Denuvo DRM technology to help with like emulation, to help security, all this stuff that Denuvo does supposedly to help make their softwares more secure from people like hacking into it, emulating it, etc. So this sounds like a good thing from the developer's point of view, but from the consumer, from the player, Denuvo has been known to make the games perform worse with Denuvo than without Denuvo. So on the Nintendo Switch, that's already kind of not the strongest technology. It's already holding some games back as far as what they should be performing at. If you add something like Denuvo, who knows how well these games are going to be performing. So that is like bad news. We haven't yet to see a game use Denuvo yet on the Nintendo Switch, so we're still time can tell how bad this could be. But just in general, if you talk to like specifically like the PC gamers out there, they'll tell you how bad Denuvo can get. Yeah, so again, we don't know exactly how bad it is yet because we haven't had our first game with Denuvo DRM yet, but it's usually not a good sign when Denuvo is added into your game. Our next news topic is good, maybe bad. I guess it depends on who you are, how you want to look at it. And pretty much Charles Martinet is stepping away from Mario. Nintendo has finally announced it, and Charles Martinet also announced it. This has been speculated and rumored since like the first trailer of Super Mario Bros. Wonder came out. People were wondering whether or not they use a different voice actor for Mario, as things that he was saying didn't really sound like Charles Martinet, specifically some of the dialogue like wowie zowie, all these things that a lot of people were concerned about. But I don't think there's really much to be concerned about anymore, as it does look like they are going in a different direction for the voice of Mario, Luigi, and all his friends. And Charles Martinet is actually getting a promotion to just like the brand ambassador of Mario. So he'll still be the voice actor in like live events. He'll still show up to like all like the Comic-Cons and the like PAX and stuff like that. He'll still show up as the voice of Mario and the face of Mario. But as far as voicing Mario in like the video games and obviously the movies, Charles Martinet will no longer be the voice actor of Mario, and an extension Luigi, Wario, etc. So I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, as I think the new voice actor for Mario in like the Mario Bros. Wonder sounds phenomenal. I think he sounds great and he has a lot of personality. The wowie zowie is a little weird, but overall I think there's time for a different approach to Mario, to Luigi, to Wario, so pretty much everyone in this cast of Mario. I do think you know, Charles Martinet has had a great running, and he's always been the voice of Mario for me. I'm always going to grow up with him being, you know, my Mario. I do think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of characteristics, personality this new voice actor can bring to Mario. But overall, I'm glad that Charles Martinet is stepping away. Moving onwards to our next topic, Excitebike 64 is coming to NSO expansion pass for the Nintendo 64 application on the Nintendo Switch. Wow, a lot of like subtitles, I guess I added in there for fun. But yeah, Excitebike 64 is coming on August 30th. Excitebike 64 was an interesting game. I remember playing it a little bit, but it wasn't a game that really caught my attention back then. But I think it's a game that I could appreciate now. So I'm excited to give this one a shot and test it out on August 30th. So definitely stick around if you guys want to see me check that game out. Alright, now let's talk about this Project Q situation. So Project Q has finally been announced with its real name. It's going to be called a PlayStation Portal, and it is at a price tag of $199.99. Some people say that's too much. Some people say that's right there in a soft spot, in a good spot. Overall, I think it's a good spot for what it does. And if you guys don't know what this does, it's essentially like a controller with a tablet screen in the middle, and it's designed to just remote play from your PlayStation 5 directly. So it doesn't really allow you to like take the games with you portably, or really do a lot of like, you know, handheld stuff that you would expect like the Nintendo Switch to do, or like the PlayStation Vita did. It's just meant to remote play from your PlayStation 5 directly to like the handheld device. And I think a lot of people are looking at this as like a PlayStation Vita but like terrible, and I think they got to really look at it more as like an accessory and add-on to the PS5. It's not something that you get as just like it's standalone. It's not comparable to like a handheld like the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch. It's more so, again, just like an extra accessory to the PlayStation 5. Now that we're talking about accessories, PlayStation, Sony did acquire something that is, I think, different, something that I don't think a lot of people expected, and they actually ended up acquiring, I'm gonna butcher this name wrong, but I think it's Addies, whatever. Addies, they ended up acquiring Addies, and they're like hot stuff within like the headphone technology. They make like the fanciest in like audio technology, from like your headphones to your earbuds. They do stuff that is very high end within like the audio department. So I think it is interesting that Sony is acquiring them and adding them into their fold. I don't know if this is specifically for like the PlayStation like gaming division, if they're looking to like luxurize their headphones or headsets, etc. But I do think it makes a lot of sense for Sony to be acquiring them, as Sony does a lot of things within the tech, from like TVs to speakers, etc. So I don't think it's too out of place, but it is very interesting that they just announced a new headset for the PlayStation 5, and now they're acquiring a studio that does make these who does primarily make like headphones better than PlayStation. So I look forward to seeing what this acquisition could bring for Sony PlayStation. Here's some cool news. Eternites, this is like an indie game like made by Studio Sai, but also published by Sony PlayStation. So it's kind of like indie third party, but working underneath like first party PlayStation. So this game has had like some release date movement. It was originally set for September 20th, and now it's being set for September 12th. So it's actually moved ahead of time, ahead of schedule, which makes sense. I think September 19th is dropping Mortal Kombat and Lies of P on the same day. Plus you're getting closer to like October's like crazy rush of games. I think the sooner you get this game out, the better you have to sell this game. This game doesn't really interest me in the slightest, but if you guys are interested in it, definitely check it out. Alright, Xbox fans, there's been a lot of controversy between you guys and Larian Studios with like Baldur's Gate 3 not being able to release on the Xbox because the Series S was having trouble like getting the split screen added onto the console. Xbox originally sent like their Mastercraft development team to check out Baldur's Gate 3 and seeing how possible it is to get split screen running on the Series S. Now, a lot of conversation has been happening with Larian Studios like, head developers as well as Phil Spencer of Xbox, and they finally came to a way that's gonna get Baldur's Gate 3 on the Xbox like ecosystem before 2023 is over. Now, depending on who you are, how you are, this is gonna be maybe controversial. I think it's a good thing. In my opinion, I think this is a good thing. So Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna be releasing in the year 2023. That's what Larian Studio promised. Xbox Series X is gonna be feature complete. Xbox Series S is going to be without the split screen. It looks like they couldn't find a way to get it on the Series S, but ultimately Phil Spencer has says they'd rather have Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox than not have it on Xbox. So it's a good thing that it is coming some way, shape, or form. Now, if you're, however, a Series S owner and you really were looking forward to split screen, I guess you got to either get this on, another console or just level up to the Series X. Phil Spencer has also came out to discuss the Series S and the future the Xbox Series S has, with a lot of people coming out and saying Xbox Series S is holding back development on a lot of these titles. Phil Spencer did double down, saying that he believes that the Series S is an important console to have for Xbox, stating that it is a really low entry point to Game Pass, to the games that some people without it would no longer be able to play games or be able to afford games properly. So he did say that Series S games are already like feature incomplete when compared to Series X, when you look at the fact that it runs on lower fidelity, when it doesn't have ray tracing, and in the case of Baldur's Gate 3 will not have split screen. So I think he's very much aware of the limitations of the Series S, and he's pretty much getting ahead of all this press to let the consumers of the Series S know that, hey, you purchase the Xbox at half the price of the Series X, so you're going to be getting feature incomplete games that don't run the same. That's just to be understood. And I think these are all valid points. I do think, the Series S is a very cheap console, and I think a lot of times it's even cheaper than like the Nintendo Switch, and it's running some pretty top tier games at that price point. So I do think it's important that the Series S stays where we have it. Moving on to Armored Core 6. This is the big game that released this week. Tons of people are raving about it. Metacritic score is officially out at a very, very solid 87. I love to hear that. The people who messed with this game really messed with it. They really liked it. The people who didn't just, acknowledge that it's a good game. It just didn't really jive with them. Overall, 87 is a fantastic score, specifically for a game that's never really ranked in the 80s. All previous Armored Core games were within the 70s range. So this is a great thing to see from Software, from Armored Core, and just overall from games. I do plan on picking it up later on today, but I probably won't be able to get a chance to play it till like Wednesday just because of life, etc. But this is and has been one of my most hyped games for 2023, and I'm glad to see it is doing great numbers. Stalker 2 is a game that a lot of people have been anticipating for quite a while. This is being developed from a Ukrainian studio and was set to release for 2023. But obviously, due to the war that's still going on between Russia and Ukraine, there's been a lot of struggles within development, as I believe a lot of those development studio workers had to take up arms and help defend their homeland. And I think they actually eventually ended up evacuating Ukraine and are in a safer place now. And yeah, this game was slated for 2023. It has been moved to Q1 of 2024. And you know what? I'm just so happy for them that they're still being able to release this game sometime in the future, despite all the trouble that their development cycle has, had due to like real life events, obviously really terrible events. And you know what, when this game does come out, I look forward to people checking it out, and hopefully this game is releasing in a way that we all kind of want it to come out. BioWare, the legendary studio behind games like Mass Effect, have announced that they are laying off 50 employees due to like restructuring, and hopefully they said to like refocus some of their development team on some of the games that they're working on, things like the next Mass Effect, things like the next Dragon Age. And this is always terrible news to hear, employees that have worked their butts off getting the axe. I don't ever pray for this, specifically in game development, where it is like a really troublesome type of like work environment. I know it gets stressful, and I know they put a lot of work into their games and a lot of care. So hopefully these people can land on their feet in other studios and other development teams. BioWare did come out and say that they're going to be helping to reallocate some of this staff to different studios, to different like positions, etc. But ultimately they acknowledge the fact that they can't reallocate every single employee, and some of them will be left to find, work on their own. Our last news topic is good, bad. It's, maybe expected, and this is the fact that Todd Howard, the development genius mind behind things like Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, and more recently Starfield, has come out saying that they believe that they announced Elder Scrolls 6 probably a little too soon, as it was announced back in 2018, and here we are 2023, and they show no signs that this game is going to be releasing anytime soon. That just makes sense. I don't think anyone's really expecting Elder Scrolls 6 in like 2024, 2025, maybe 2026. God really knows how long this is going to be. But ultimately, again, they just dropped Starfield, and now the development is finally wrapped up on Starfield. They will probably start refocusing everything on Elder Scrolls 6, whatever that game is going to be. Todd Howard did say he wants this to be like the ultimate like medieval fantasy style RPG that is going to help like create this level of immersion for players, all this stuff that you come to expect Todd Howard to really speak on when he speaks on RPGs. Overall, I'm excited to see them really create a whole nother medieval fantasy type world similar to like the Skyrims or the Oblivions, and yeah, it's gonna take time, but I think we all knew this. Anyways, that ends this week's like news highlight video. I'll see you guys next Friday. Let me know down below if you guys found any of this stuff interesting. And remember to enjoy your weekend. Go out there and play some games. See you guys on the next video.